Right, so I wanted to take a look at some of these instances of things that could happen, dominoes that could fall this offseason. And would the dominoes change the way that you want to draft? Because like Choppy was saying earlier, he's like, well, who's to say that if somebody's staring you in the face on the draft board who's a top offensive player, maybe you just say, I got to get that guy. So this is basically going to be, if these things would happen, how would that change your draft strategy, if it would at all? So as it stands right now, you guys would both say, I assume, you would prefer they just take two defensive players, whatever it is, just the two best defensive players with their two picks, right?
Yep.
Chop?
Or trade down, but if they're going to pick at 12 and 20, I mean, yeah, that'd be my preference.
But assuming you want to use your capital on the best defensive players possible.
That'd be my preference.
Okay, all right. So I'm going to throw out a scenario, and you guys tell me how much it changes anything, if at all. So George Pickens is traded for a second-round pick, Sean. Or we'll even say a first next year. But either way, George Pickens is traded. He's not here. Does that change the way you then evaluate your draft capital? Does it make you say, I got to find a receiver in the draft? Or does it, with this being a very good receiver draft, we mentioned Dane Brugler, 17 of his top 100 players are receivers in this year's draft.
And I'm not signing a free agent replacement.
That's how you could address it if you chose to. Would you rather say, no, it doesn't change my draft strategy, it changes my free agent strategy? I'd rather sign somebody, or I'd rather trade for somebody.
I think RJ is going to say the same thing. It could alter my draft strategy to choose a receiver. It could.
It could. Now, the likelihood is, like, I assume there's...
Because then I would take that money that I'm saving and try to spend, hopefully, on Minka Fitzpatrick if he's cut. Maybe a Bradley Chubb. Maybe some of the other names. So I would view it as, okay, I could draft a receiver and use the money to buy defense.
Like, there is no chance that Tate is there at 12, right? Like, none?
Probably not. Maybe Jordan Tyson.
Who? Give the full name, school?
Carnell Tate is Ohio State.
Yeah, I mean, it would have to be one of those guys falls. I mean, yeah, if you want to take a receiver in the first round, if you move on from George, fine, especially if you get a first-round pick. Now you got 3 of them. But if you have 3 first-round picks, you know, I assume that really opens the door to trading one of them.
So my thought process on this is, why am I trading George Pickens if I do?
Right.
And my thought is, if I'm trading George Pickens just for me, it's because I need assets to give to defense. So if the Cowboys are telling me that trading George Pickens would then mean picking a receiver, then I'd say don't ever do that. Because I don't think you're going to... The chances of you finding somebody to be better than what George Pickens was for you last year, even as a high-valued pick, is... I've already got the bird in the hand. I don't need the question.
Yeah, but I'm saving a ton of money.
You are going to say
I can be bigger spenders in free agency.
You are going to save money, but exactly, it could get applied differently, whatever else. But if they're telling me that they might change their draft strategy and say they draft a receiver, at that point, I'd rather just pay George Pickens to know he's a good player than to take my chances on a receiver that I think might be good, but I don't know. So for me, it would be, if I'm trading that, I'm trading it for the gamble on I can get something good on defense. And it would be to try and throw more assets over there. If it somehow involves the receiver, I don't think I want to do it. Next one.
And just keep in mind, I think everyone knows this, free agency, then draft.
Yes.
So
yeah.
That'd be a problem. Like, you have to trade George.
Yeah, you'll have a month of free agency a month and a half of free agency before you get to the draft, where you'd be able to explore some of this.
And this team normally doesn't like to do things ahead of time. Broadus said on G-Bag the other day, he keeps hearing final day to decide on the tag or not. Like, delay, push back.
Which, for them, I would assume just be they want to get through the Indy meetings and see, do we even need to tag, or can we just negotiate an extension now?
Yeah.
And so then they'll wait on it.
So it could alter my thinking.
Next scenario.
Wide out.
Could this alter the way the Cowboys draft, or this would be a free agency thing, so this would be more about the draft. If the Cowboys signed Trey Hendrickson. So you've got Donovan Ezeraku, you've got Trey Hendrickson, maybe you bring Clowney back, you've got James Houston here. Is that enough to where you say, I don't want them picking a defensive end now? If you've got enough holes that use those other picks on, so would that change your strategy and say, right now you would say, sure, pick a good defensive end if they're there. Would that cause you to say, that's not enough value, give me something else?
I'm okay with still taking a DN because, to me, Clowney is getting ready to be gone. Not in terms of free agency, but age and production. So Look, it's already scary enough. Yesterday, saying I feel better about D end over DB because of Clowney. Like that is a that you don't want to be on that ground. So no, it would not. Signing Hendrickson would not change me still taking a stud D end.
Would it change you at 12? Like, would you say my biggest piece of capital I don't want to spend on an edge rusher, but I would still reserve it for 20?
Not a Baines there.
Yeah. Okay. I mean, again, who's there? That's my answer for
Bain or Bailey would be obviously. This would be more. I guess I'm more thinking in the idea of Mesidor at 20, or one of those guys who it's like, yeah, that's the next tier of defensive ends. A guy
like
that's a solid player. Yeah,
I'm kind of with Sean.
He's almost as old as Clowney.
I'm just out on. Stop it.
All right, next one here. This is one that I think does change. When we talked about this on the draft show, a lot of them were like, nah, it doesn't change anything for me. It absolutely changes something for me. Terrence Steele is released. If they release Terrence Steele, are you now open to offensive line in the first round?
If I didn't draft O-line, give me the starting line. Left to right.
You could pick, essentially, you would either go to free agency, which there's a couple guys. A guy Clayton Adams worked with, Braden Smith in Indianapolis could be a free agent. But essentially, if you're just saying it's the guys we have here, then you would either pick Guyton to go to right tackle or stay at left tackle, and then Nate Thomas would play the other tackle spot, and then your interior would be Booker, Tyler Smith, and Cooper Beebe.
Oh, God.
Or what if I could tell you it would be Hoffman plays center, Beebe moves to guard, Tyler Smith moves out to left tackle, and Guyton is playing right. So Guyton and Tyler Smith at the tackles, Beebe and Booker at the guards, and Hoffman playing center.
I'd probably be more interested in that. But since you have the strongest take on it, explain why it would affect you. You'd be open to draft and tackle.
So cutting Terrence Steele frees you up $8 million now, unless you post June 1 him. But it's just $8 million. With all the holes they have on defense, and they have 2 first-round picks, nothing in the second or third round, I just don't know that in the name of $8 million, it makes sense to create a hole that big on the offensive line. Which, I was talking to somebody the other day, and they were talking about, Terrence Steele, is he great? No. Is Terrence Steele a black hole like you have on defense at a number of spots, or like you've had in the past when you had an awful receiving core and you had to go get Amari Cooper or something like that? Terrence Steele's not a black hole. You can get by with him on the offensive line. That's not. I don't think that $8 million in cap savings is worth creating a hole.
I will say this: if you go, I do think our offensive lines here have been so good. For the most, we've had such elite offensive line play.
Little overrated over the last probably 6 years.
Okay, but for a good stretch, like this offensive line's been so good. We have been skewed on what a normal offensive line looks like.
Yes, spoiled.
The fact that we're like, oh my God, we got a hole at right tackle. Okay, half the teams in the league have 3 holes on their offensive line. 3 of them.
Just look at the playoffs,
right?
Look at how New England could not sit there and protect Drake May.
Right. Yeah, it's like and the amount of resources that this team spends on the offensive line, high resources. And just to think that, we got this problem. Okay, great. A lot of teams have problems. Like every team has problems on their offensive line. Who's the best offensive line in the NFL right now?
It had been Detroit. Detroit got banged up last year as soon as the center was gone.
So they lose one player.
Yeah.
And the whole thing falls apart.
Yeah, it's very much a weakest link unit. And like you mentioned, New England, somebody had brought up to me, they were like, look what happened the second they couldn't block from Holmes. They got overwhelmed in the Super Bowl in Tampa Bay. They fixed it. Well, last year they had offensive line issues again, and what happened? Like Pat gets hurt and they go 6-11. And so it's like there's only so much you can just say, hey, Dak, go out there and do like you did against Micah every week and just time it up and get rid of the ball like a badass.
Just get one of Cleveland's offensive linemen, as I think they're about to make history in having all 5 available. All 5, I
open
think.
It up. Reset. Get the big old reset. Now, I will say the 2 tackles that are thought to be the top ones here in the draft, Spencer Fano from Utah and Francis Mauigoa from Miami, both of them are natural right tackles. So that would be Terrence Steele's spot. You would potentially be using a pick on a guy he's a right tackle anyway. All right, and then the last one here, Javonte Williams leaves via free agency.
No.
Does that change not necessarily in the first round, but does it change it all to right now? I don't think you draft a running back at all. like on any of the 3 days? Does it then change where you're going? In the 4th round, you might have to look. Because then it's Jaden Blue and Phil Maffa and
Or I could just sign another
Rico Dowdle.
Javonte.
Go get a Rico Dowdle type out there, that kind of thing.
Yeah, I guess you could talk me into looking in the 4th. I wouldn't prefer it, but no, it's not changing anything in the 1st, even if Love is there.
What if you got a Jahmyr Gibbs type?
And who is that?
Love.
Is he?
Yeah.
He is?
Yeah, that's who he gets comped to a lot.
Ooh. I'm going to think about that. Be low.